stars, and that's who we are. We are voices. There's nothing to fear. Explode in your rear. Feel our voices.
Party people, VOR is back. This is Ed.
This is Mike.
And I'm still Carl.
Damn it.
Pop, pop.
Pop, pop. What are you, gangsta popping? What is that?
And this is all about Rebels, and I'm learning so much listening to you guys going on and on and on.
I feel bad that you haven't watched it. Like, I would really like to get your input on it, but
Dude,
I understand you're busy. Like, I'm not shitting on you. I'm just saying, like, I'm legitimately disappointed.
I know it sucks because it would be nice, but I will tell you this: I'm loving the color palette on this show.
You know,
Just the stuff that I've seen, like the toys and the blah 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 blah. There's like this orangey, golden, green, like earthy kind of vibe, far more approachable than that of the Clone Wars, and I kind of feel as though it's supposed to sort of pull you in to the earthy rebel vibe of it.
It really does. I mean, like, honestly, everything about it is kind of starting to get towards the original trilogy as far as art and color design and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And I really enjoy it. And like I said, I'm really disappointed you didn't get to watch it because I think of the three of us, you're probably the least cynical of us.
Yeah.
And I really think that you would really enjoy the show.
Dude, I'm thinking I am. I've even warmed up to the whole idea of the of R2FU. Off that
Chopper.
Yeah, and even though he's a stunted little squat looking thing, like he looks a little too short to me. He looks wrong against other R2 units, but I love the fact that they're doing something with a new with the Utapau characters, because in episode 3 that was my favorite. I just loved those guys. They were so beautiful with their fangy teeth. They're all creepy like mole people because they live in their planet.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes sense that he'd be a bad guy, or that's a little obvious because they already look like bad guys. And I kind of like, I don't know. I'm loving a lot of what I'm seeing. I initially didn't like anything about any of this.
Well, that's what is really interesting. Looking back at our preview episode, was we're all really cynical, and like you said, Carl, Mike is usually the guy who's not the most cynical, and we walked away. I was surprised by the results because Carl wasn't down and Mike wasn't down. I was the only one that was defending any of the characters and any of the shit that I saw in the preview. So I'm like, I think it might be okay.
I thought I was pretty fair with it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I'm still the idea of like the pink hair kind of. I don't know. That just doesn't.
It's one of those things that it is what it is, and unlike Clone Wars where people will give the like, oh, it's for kids' defense. This one so far has been good enough in every other aspect that when someone says like, well, it's a kids show, I'm like, all right, I'll let it slide. You know, it's good enough in the other aspects that I can feel like saying it's a kids show is enough of a defense for the few things that have been wrong with it so far. Namely, like I said, kind of those throwaway like one-liners. Like it seems like everyone has to have something to say when in response, and always has to be kind of quippy and always has to be kind of witty. And in kids shows, you have to keep it kind of lowball. I mean, because kids, I'm not saying kids are stupid or anything, because a lot of kids out there are really smart, and if you think that they're stupid, you're not giving them enough credit, especially when it comes to storytelling and stuff like that. They might not know the words to say, this is a good story because, or this is a bad story because, but they know. They inherently know what's good and bad. But you have to keep the humor and the intelligence of certain things down low because they're not quite developed to be like, that's a joke, I got it. You know, it's like you have to keep it kind of obvious for them because they haven't quite developed that maturity of story and timing and things of that nature. So I think it makes that sort of stuff very glaring in Rebels. When it comes up, it's like, boom, it's bright lights with arrows pointing to it, but that's kind of what you have to do for kids sometimes. So.
But I wasn't meaning it as a diss, honestly. I mean, as an adult, you know, yeah, I have more sophisticated tastes. No, it's really hard for me to get into children's shows because they're not made for me. Honestly, I can appreciate design, but no, I'm not going to watch like an entire season of a thing. However, this is finally its strength. I can deal with the lines because I understand that. Yeah, they're trying to get new people into Star Wars lore. They're trying to. Some people, I mean, a lot of times it feels like browbeating when you're just the same lines keep coming up, keep coming up, keep coming up. Kanan training Ezra, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we've heard a million times before, but it makes sense because he's doing the best he can. He's like, oh shit, I found this kid. He's strong in the Force. We might be able to pull this off. Like, if he's another Force user, this is a strength. So really, of course, he's just going to do what anybody does and regurgitate what he's learned. And he even calls himself out. He's like, yeah, do or do not. There's no try. He's like, what does that mean? It's like, you know, I never knew what that meant.
He's like, Master Yoda said it a lot, but I just never quite understood it.
But then that comes back into play later. I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? Good
Yeah.
job.
That was a really, honestly, I think that episode is kind of where everything starts to congeal for the series.
The one before it, I would destroy that episode. I would burn it.
The TIE Fighter one?
Yeah.
Where they steal the TIE Fighter?
Hijinks. It looked like a commercial. Oh my God, what does it remind me of? Oh, it's just there's, you know, commercials where you've got 30 seconds to have cute characters like steal your cell phone. You know, it's for cell phone insurance. They got to steal it and they got to run with it. They got to go to a party. They hop on a jet. They're in Hong Kong and they drop it in the water. They have to go under with a submarine and a gym suit and grab it. And it's like all these funny things. There's like, you know, the whole episode was so fucking sugar high. It was like a Pixar short. Like, we don't have much time. Make it cute and funny. Go, 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 go. I could do without that whole episode because nothing is really gained.
I think the only thing that really comes out, and it's something that could have been done a lot easier in another episode, is Ezra and Zeb kind of bond a little.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're right. There's not a whole lot going on. But I will tell you, and you kind of hit on something, and bringing like Ezra and Zeb's relationship into it also kind of builds on this. I like the fact that these characters are imperfect. In Clone Wars, everyone seemed a little too good. Like, oh, Snips, he's so talented in the Force. Oh, you know, it's like, you know, she's so good. And you're like, oh, Anakin, he's so powerful. Ooh, Obi-Wan. And these guys are kind of like the lovable fuck-ups, you know. And even like Zeb, he reminds me a lot of Jane from Firefly because he straight screws Ezra over early on in the season. You know, it's like he pretty much leaves him behind with the Imperials. You know, and then like that gives you this time like where he's like, oh man, I'm a shitty person, and you can see that character development where he's like, oh man, I'm disappointed in myself. You know,
he's trying to justify his actions. Like, hey, you know, that's just the name of the game, right? We're smugglers or whatever we're doing. This is, you know, it's tough. Hey, every man for himself, right? He's not really one of us. You would have done it. You would have done it. Say you would have done it.
Yeah, and that whole little building of his character, and then Kanan, how he's not a good teacher. He's a decent Jedi. He's a pretty good Jedi from what we've seen. Yeah. But he's not a good teacher, which is like, it finally brings into this whole thing where, you know, oh, this guy's a master. He's ready for a Padawan. You know, it's like, well, now we see this guy who's a good Jedi Knight, but clearly not ready for a Padawan. And it makes for some interesting dynamics that you don't usually get to see because so many of the characters in Star Wars become kind of overpowered Mary Sue sort of characters, where you have this Jedi, like, yeah, he's good at sword fighting and throwing stuff with the Force, but ask him to teach a kid or do this or do that, and he can't fucking do it. You know, it's nice to see like a character with limitations, and all of them have their own limitations, and we're starting to learn them and see them, and it's kind of interesting.
Well, it's a limitation at the beginning of the episode, but what is important here is, and that I took away from it, is you know, he's just throwing rote at this kid. He's not really teaching him. He's just telling him everything that he knows. And he's like, well, just relax. It's like, well, I'd relax if you stopped yelling at me. I'd relax if everybody would just leave me alone. Well, you know, it's not gonna be it's gonna be crazy out there. Shit's gonna happen, and you're gonna have to lift a car. Okay, so go. You know, and you know that's not how he was trained. So now it's his challenge to learn to teach.
Yeah.
which is really cool. So he's got to figure out how to develop that relationship with Ezra and not treat him like, why aren't you getting this? Why aren't you getting this? And I hope it gets dragged out like that for a little bit. Just like,
Mm-hmm.
can you just give me 5 minutes? Just, you know I can do this. Just, so yeah, it's, wow, the more I talk about it, the more I like it.
Yeah, it's like I said, there's a lot of potential in the show. I don't know if it's going to live up to that potential, but so far we're what, 4 episodes in, and I've been digging it like a lot more than I thought I would, and I was going to give it a fair shot. I was kind of middle of the road to begin with, and I'm pretty positive on it, and I would recommend it if like I knew someone had kids and they're like, hey, what should my kids watch? I'd be like, watch Star Wars Rebels with them. It'd be pretty good. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, nothing really to like. Again, compared to Clone Wars, there's nothing like you have to worry about shielding your eyes, shielding the kids because this is kind of weird. There's no handed lines. Yeah, I know it could go wrong, but there's no. I just don't have that much to slam it on. R2 and 3PO showing up, I thought that was terrible. An Imperial who has to take public transportation, that doesn't make any sense. In that episode 2, that had a lot of weird stuff that just seemed out of character.
Well, that could have been shoehorning by putting in the characters. I know that I've seen the commercial for the Vader shows up.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the cut with Vader where they recut it that they're supposed to be showing it on ABC or did show it on ABC. I haven't seen the added scene with Vader yet, so I don't know what all that's supposed to add.
No, doesn't sound like it would serve any of the stories that I've seen so far.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, is at this point they're so far removed from the top of the Empire that for Vader to have any like knowledge of the events going on in this show would seem silly.
Yeah, these are really low-profile people. Like you said, Carl, they don't even call themselves rebels. It's like, who are you? It's like we're just trying to help.
Yeah, they're just pretty much people fucking with the Empire. That's their whole goal.
Yeah.
It's like they're not trying to even overthrow the Empire. They're saying, you know what, we're trying to look out for people like us, and we're trying to fuck with them. That's it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But this is essentially the story of the birth of the rebels, of the Rebel Alliance.
Well, I don't know if it's...
They're kind of foreshadowing it a bit, because, I mean, we already saw Bail Organa show up, and we know that he's part of the whole rebellion's actual formation. And they've already had a run-in with him, so I don't know. We might see that them be kind of like, ooh, the mysterious forefathers of the rebellion. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they're not tied in at some point, though.
Yeah. I mean, if anything else, I'm sure they'll tie it in. It sounds like they'll tie it in as like, all right, who's out there, or rather, who's been stirring things up, and what's their motivation. So you can justify R2 and 3PO showing up by, again, planting R2 and figuring out, are these just smugglers? Because it looks like they're more like Robin Hood types, so go check them out. And that was R2's report. It was like, yeah, these guys are on the level, and they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Can I throw something out there at you guys real quick? And I know this is coming to a close. But, okay, so in Episode 3 of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Anakin, this all-knowing Anakin, he gets a whiff of jealousy about his wife and Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Right? He kind of alludes to this sort of like, you've been talking to Obi-Wan, and there was a thing, it bothered him. It wasn't necessarily a sexual tension. It was sort of just a Obi-Wan Padme connection that he didn't like putting together. But at no point did Anakin ever put together a sense of I'm not loving this between Padme and Bail Organa. And that's where a problem was really stirring up. I mean, like, if you're gonna have beef with something, that's it. And I could feel it from across the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as soon as he came on scene, and maybe because I know in advance, but like I always had this kind of like uneasy sort of thing about the connection between Padme and Bail, and they never really address it. And I don't even know if they have like really a good conversation at all in the film that would drive it on home. But I love it that he's in there, because to me he's a fucking mixer. He really is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that would be hell. That's a story I would have a stab at. Of like, what if they had? I mean, Anakin's out in Outer Rim territories fighting all the time. He's arguably Palpatine's trying to keep them apart to keep fucking with this kid's head, knowing that they're together. And there's your what if.
Furthermore, why didn't Palpatine? Yeah, why didn't Palpatine ever place any sort of anything in front of Anakin to turn Anakin towards Bail and be like, "What's your shit with my girl? Stay away from her." Like, it would have served the Empire later on down the road if Sidious would have thrown some beef fumes around frickin' Bail Organa and sent Anakin packing towards him, because it just would have made sense for him to want to eliminate that guy.
I think I know why, and maybe it's just because I just got done rereading the first Republic Commando novel. Is that Bail seems to have a reputation of being really charismatic and really popular. So Palpatine now just won the universe. Like, he just won.
Right.
He killed all the Jedi in one fell swoop. So, he's probably really overconfident that all these clones that he created, he could choose to wipe out Alderaan. He could just go there. He could bomb him from space. He could kill Organa. But, if he kills Organa, who's from Alderaan, that boasts of being a peace-loving planet with just about no major weapons, that's gonna look really bad. So it's probably better for him to just keep tabs on him and just leave him alone.
I'm just thinking Anakin should have beat his ass at some point.
That would have been interesting. Did a little force choke,
Just something little that would have been like Anakin being like, "I'm gonna flex on you."
Or if it
collar.
Or if anything, if you just wanted to go real subtle with it, do the whole you're getting my wife in trouble. Stop putting these ideas in her head about rebellion and standing up against them. It's like stuff like that. Like, if even just that much, where he's like, man, you're getting her in trouble. You're coming into work. You're talking to her. Her supervisor's getting all pissed off about it. Shit. Like, people are shoplifting while you're distracting her. It's terrible. You're going to get her fired.
Dude, honestly, though, Carl, I know you're slightly throwing in some funny there, but that's where your talent is. Like, you do realize that whole first part of that, especially, was really talented and interesting, and I'm like, I love that.
Oh, thank you.
I would read it. Like, write a paper about that tonight. We gotta go. Go write the paper, and I'll read it.
Yeah.
Well, Disney, you heard him. I'm available. I can do some stories for you. Just saying.
Just saying.
I still love, despite what some people might think, I still love Star Wars.
Nothing but love here. Nothing but love. We critique because we love.
Speaking of, we should really wrap this up.
Let's go.
So, VORradio.com. Visit it. Learn everything there is to know about us. Contact information, where to watch and listen, past shows. Who knows? There might even be something crazy on the website at some point or time. I don't know.
You'll never know if you don't look.
Exactly. So head on over there. Head over to our Facebook group. Join us. We don't have a Facebook page because that's just pointless. Come to our group where you can actually talk to us and other Vorons. We do engage. We do discuss. And so do our fans. So join us over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking to them is actually cooler than talking to any of us most of the time.
Honestly, yeah.
They're like real people. Just saying.
Yeah.
We're
just
celebrities. Thumbs up our asses.
We're just puppets. That's all we are. All right. So, all right. That's it for today then, right?
That's it. We'll be back tomorrow. We got Republicom and whatever else Rebels Flotsam floating around, so we can get into that.
You know what? We should talk to Mike about the toys tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Cool. All right, kids. So just remember, may the force
be with
that ass.
Oh, I love the way you turn it down.